Hello, good morning. Welcome to Apprenticeships in the Spotlight with Founders for Schools in celebration of National Apprenticeship Week. In this session, we're going to be talking about apprenticeships in healthcare, and our guest speakers joining us today will tell their career story. They'll share their experiences and you will get a chance to ask them some questions. My name is Louise Moore. I'm your host today, and at Founders for Schools, we hope to support students to make informed decisions about their future by offering career lessons, guidance and tips. We want to talk today about different career paths and options to get you to where you want to be. And apprenticeships might actually be the answer for many. So this is what we're celebrating today as part of National Apprenticeship Week. To the audience at home, your audio, video and chat function has been disabled for safeguarding purposes, but there's a question and answer box which is being viewed and moderated. So please use that. We are recording the session today and it will be available on our YouTube channel afterwards. Okay. First of all, thank you. We've got Olivia and Willow, who are currently doing an apprenticeship at North Tyneside Hospital, which is in the northeast of England, part of the Northumbria Healthcare Trust, am I right? Okay, thank you. And we've got Jo Brown here. Hi, Jo. Jo is a business development consultant at the Anglia Ruskin University. Is that right, Jo? Have I got that correct? Okay, thank you. So we're going to hear from our brilliant speakers today about their take on apprenticeships. So over to you. You're going to speak for about 8 minutes. First of all, we'll start off with Jo. What's your apprenticeship story?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Jo Brown from the Degrees at Work team at Anglia Ruskin University. So ARU offer many different apprenticeships across many different kind of fields, really, but I work in the healthcare sector myself. So I'm a business development consultant for healthcare apprenticeships, and I've been in this role. This is coming into my 4th year now. So some of the apprenticeships that I work on, they start from level 4 and they go up to level 7. So sort of foundation degree up into masters. And I work on different apprenticeships in health and social care, including nursing and the social worker degree apprenticeship as well. So I just wanted to talk to you today, really, from an ARU perspective, what you would need to do, how you would need to prepare for an apprenticeship. Please do be aware that it does differ from university to university. We might have some different entry requirements for our courses and things like that. So if you're looking at anything in particular, always go onto the university website, have a little look on the information that they've got there. And normally they've usually got sort of like an Ask Us Chat Live button, or a button where you could send an email, for example, or a telephone number that you could call. But from an ARU perspective, we have the Degrees at Work team. We deal with apprenticeships, and we're here to help both applicants that might be interested in apprenticeships, but we also work with employers as well, who employ the apprentice. So from an ARU perspective, you'll need to have employer support to get onto an apprenticeship. And you can really do this in one of 2 ways. This is my advice to you anyway. You could apply for an external position. So this can be quite rare, as a lot of employers within healthcare do tend to internally recruit and upskill their current staff. And the 2 apprentices that you're going to hear from in a minute, they'll probably explain how they did that themselves. But we work in sort of Essex and Cambridgeshire, Peterborough and surrounding areas. So some of the trusts that we work with within the NHS, for example, they do recruit externally. So you should check NHS websites to see if they've got any jobs that are available or any apprenticeships, and you can apply for something that way. Or you could look at local hospitals near to yourself. I'm suggesting hospitals. You can look at doctor surgeries, care homes and hospices as well, because obviously they all provide healthcare. But let's say that you look at a local NHS hospital, you get a job with them as a healthcare assistant or a healthcare support worker, or you could get an apprenticeship with them in that sense, and then sort of keep applying internally from there and build your way up internally rather than applying externally. So we find that they're the two ways that really you can do it from an Anglia Ruskin perspective. You must be employed really to do an apprenticeship because your employer pays for your fees. So really you need to be employed, and generally they'll ask for sort of a 3 to 6 month probationary period, which is really good for you as well, because you can get used to the job and see if you like it and make sure that it's for you. And then they would look to put you onto an apprenticeship after. So that's really how you would sort of go about doing an apprenticeship from our perspective. If anyone sort of ever writes into ARU and I speak to them, that's generally how I would advise them. You must be 18 to do, at least to do any of our apprenticeships, but there isn't a ceiling on how old you need to be. And often I'll speak to people and they say to me, oh, I'm too old to do an apprenticeship. But the truth is, you're never too old, really. A lot of our apprentices are actually not school leavers, they are older, but I think that there are a lot of school leavers that are coming through now and getting onto apprenticeships because there are those trusts that are starting to externally recruit. So there's some really important information that you need to know, and that is from an ARU perspective, again, for entry requirements, you need to have your maths and English GCSE, either grade C or level 4 and above, or functional skills level 2 in maths and English. If you don't have them, ARU do ask you to have them before you start the course. There might be other universities that will allow you to study alongside your level 4 or your level 5 or level 6 apprenticeship. However, if you don't have them and you start a course, it's quite a lot to study 2 GCSEs and a degree at the same time. So that's why ARU suggests that you do it first, or require you to do it first, sorry. If you don't have your level 2s, there's quite a lot of places online at the moment, especially sort of from our area, but I think nationally, that offer functional skills in level 2 maths and English. So if you don't have them, my advice to you would be to have a look online, try to obtain them as soon as possible, and it will put you in the best possible chance of getting an apprenticeship, especially if you apply for, if a trust that you're looking at is actually looking to recruit some apprentices, it's going to be very competitive. So you want to make sure that you get all of those entry requirements and that you've got everything that they require. So that would be my advice on that. We also look for level 3 learning on our courses. So for example, that might be A levels or BTECs. Learning at level 3, we like to see that you've gone on to college and that you have had sort of further education. If you don't have that, but you do have some quite extensive healthcare experience. So for example, you might have worked in a hospital or a GP surgery for 6 months to a year, then we will accept on a case-by-case basis experience over the level 3 learning. But the level 2 requirement for maths and English is a must because it is actually a funding requirement from the ESFA, who fund apprenticeships. Excuse me, sorry. So benefits for apprenticeships or for apprentices. There's quite a lot of benefits to being an apprentice. You won't leave university with all of the debt that self-funders do, basically. Obviously, education, if you're a direct entry or a self-funder, then you pay for that yourself. You might get a student loan, for example. But if you do an apprenticeship, it's fully funded by your employer. So that's a really, really good thing. You also get a chance to learn alongside highly skilled staff, which I'm sure the apprentices that are going to speak after me will tell you about as well. You're going to be working with people in that industry that have been working there for a long time and learning a lot from them. You'll earn while you learn, which is fantastic. So you get paid to do a job and also to learn at the same time. And your employer also invests in you, and there's a high chance that you'll get a permanent job at the end of it as well. And quite possibly most importantly, you get lots of student discounts as well, which is fantastic. So I don't know if I've filled up my time now, so I do apologise. But what to do next? I would advise you to explore what you might want to study. Make sure you meet those entry requirements. If you do need to work towards your level 2s, for example, try and obtain those as soon as possible. look for a job within healthcare and start applying as soon as you can. And if you're already working within the industry, I would suggest that you speak to the apprenticeship leads within your organisation, because they'll be able to help you. Be aware that most universities do work in regions. So if you live in the north, for example, you wouldn't be able to apply for an apprenticeship in the south, because it would be quite far for you to travel. But that's all from me. Thank you very much for having me. I'm here to answer some questions, but I know the other people need to speak as well now, so thank you.
Thank you, Jo. That was really insightful. I know I've learned a lot from what you said there. I think you've got some essential information about requirements. And before we move on, you mentioned you have apprenticeships in nursing and social care and so on. Can you give us maybe 3 examples of apprenticeships?
Yeah, sure. So we do the nursing associate, which is a level 5. We do the assistant practitioner, which is also a foundation degree, a level 5, and it's the first half of the full registered nurse degree. And then we also offer the part 2 top up to that to become a fully registered nurse. And we offer the 3 fields of child, adult, and mental health nursing.
See, right, okay, that's fabulous. Thank you so much. That's very, very valuable. People at home, please do use the question and answer chat box, and we will try and follow up on as many questions as we can. So moving over to Olivia and Willow, please. Olivia and Willow are joining us. They've come straight off the ward, I believe. So they're currently in the hospital just now. Do we have Olivia and Willow there?
Yeah.
Hello, hi, thank you so much for joining us. Now, you are both currently doing an apprenticeship yourselves.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much for coming off the ward. What wards have you been working on this morning?
I've been on Ward 12 Elderly Care at North Tyneside General Hospital.
And I've been on Ward 24, which is also elderly care at North Tyneside General Hospital or Reed Lane Hospital.
Okay, thank you very much. So both on elderly care this morning. Is that where you're going to go back to this afternoon?
Yeah, so what we do is we do a 6-month placement on one ward, and then we switch halfway through for a year apprenticeship.
Okay, thank you. So you get a lot of experience within the apprenticeship. Right, fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us. Can you both talk about your apprenticeship journey, please, and why you are there now?
Yeah. So my name's Olivia. I live in Newcastle, and I'm currently doing a healthcare support worker apprenticeship at North Tyneside General Hospital. I found this through the website gov.uk, and then I found it on the NHS website. And I wanted to do that because I was at 6th form doing my A-levels, but I was doing health and social, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go to university and do it more like academic. I wanted to do it on the job. So I was looking for an apprenticeship, and I always knew I wanted to do it in like the care sector. And I found this and I applied for it. So what happens is you just fill out like an application, answer quite a few questions about yourself and why you want to do it, and you get called back for an interview from about 600 applications maybe, and then they take it down to 200 for the interviews, and then they select around 15 to 20 per group. But it's like a regular thing, so they do it every few months. They do like a new cohort of apprentices. So we were around the 3rd or 4th group, but what you do is you literally just follow around with the healthcares, the nurses, the doctors, get like an insight of what it's like to do it, and within a few weeks you feel like a healthcare yourself, because you just know what you're doing. So you've had your experience, and the teachers so well that you feel comfortable enough to do it, like once you've had a bit of experience. So you do stuff like personal care, like charts, you learn how to do the paperwork, you learn what you would be doing as a nurse if you wanted to go higher up. And what the apprenticeship offers is a full-time job at the end of it, the guaranteed, and also you have the option to go on the bank, like the staff bank, if you didn't want to be permanent, and you can choose whichever ward you want to work on and pick your own hours as well. So that's a good way of doing it. And I was on Ward 15 at North Tyneside as well, and that was for 6 months. That was gastro. and now I'm doing elderly care, as that's what I wanted to do from the start, was care for the elderly. But I did love Ward 15 because I felt really comfortable. They taught us everything really quickly. Like on the first day, they were showing us how to do observations, paperwork. So I felt really comfortable because they show you everything straight away so that you're not 2 months in feeling lost. So they get everything out the way, and then it's just the experience. Like when you're in every day, 5 days a week, one day's your study day out of them days, and you feel comfortable because you just get an experience. It becomes second nature to you. I'll let you have a go now.
So basically, how I got into wanting to do care work is I actually went on a youth with a mission trip across to Mexico, where we built houses, visited orphanages, did all that stuff, and then I came back. I was like, right, I'm going to be a nurse. Like, I knew it in my head. I sat my GCSEs and made myself ill with like the stress of it, this, that, and the other. And I can go looking back now, if any of you are doing them or going to do them, don't stress as much as you think it is. It's not the end of the world if you fail. I passed all of mine, but I would rather fail and not be as stressed as I was then. Like, it's not worth the stress. But anyway, so I then decided after that instead of doing my A-levels, even though I could have with the grades, I know my high school was really pushing me to do A-levels because they're like, well, you've done this at GCSE, why go and do A-levels? And I was like, no, I just need to do what's best for me. So then I actually went to college because I still thought at that point I was going to go to university and do nursing. Went to college again, did really well in my grades, but I still was like, I don't want to stay in education. I've been completely let down by the education system. So I then went on the government website like Olivia did, and I actually found like the nursing associate one, but realised that for that you do need experience in care. So I knew I wanted to work in the NHS and not through a private company because of all of the things they offer and the experience they offer. And it's a good that always kind of look to hire from within and like recruit hire from within. So I found this apprenticeship, and it's a building block. Like for me, because I've done my level 3, I felt as though I was taking a step back, but it wasn't because I'd never worked in care before. And to get I know Joe said to try and get a place as a healthcare, but I know across the NHS you do need experience to get a job as a healthcare. And the apprenticeship is a really good way of getting experience because yes, you could work in a care home for a few months and then get a job in the NHS, but they haven't taught you how they work. So doing the apprenticeship way, you're always kind of, especially for your first few months, you're with someone and you're really supported, and everyone's like, how are you doing? You have regular meetings, you get checked on. And like Olivia said, though, after a few months, you're like, I'm in the team. Like, so I'm now on Ward 24, and they've already said they want to keep us for full time. So I've got my interview coming up, and then we've already started talking about the nurse associate route that Joe was talking about. So with my placement manager, she's already saying that she wants us to do that. So it's not just like, right, you get qualified and that's it. There is a lot, like, it's building blocks. Like we are the first building block, and there's lots of different places you can come in and build your way up. So that, yeah.
And also, even if you don't get your maths and English at GCSE, you can do the functional skills, because there was a few apprentices from varied groups who did do the functional skills whilst they were doing their apprenticeship, and it's about a day every other week or something that they do the functional skills, and it's like they do a few exams, and it's not as heavy as GCSEs, but it gets you your maths and your English. So that's what you can do if you don't get your maths and English. So it doesn't put them off them taking you on for like your maths and English, because they do let you do it on the job. But at the interviews, they ask you questions. It's like more personal, like what your personality is like, why you want to be caring, because obviously you have to want to be caring to work with the public. So that's the interview process there.
And
Thank you very much. So it sounds like literally from day one you are hands-on in the job.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And do you think that's helped your confidence in going into healthcare?
100%. I was dead shy before I'd done this. Like, a month, like 6 months ago, there was no way would I be sitting here on a computer talking. I was dead shy. I couldn't even do group presentations in school, but now it's so different because you work with older people, nurses, doctors who like talk about medical stuff. You get to know what everything means. You meet loads of people from the public when they come into hospital, and you just like they rely on you when you're like supporting them. So you become so much more confident than you were.
Yeah, and I think it's like, especially the reliant thing, like when you're getting up for school, I used to be like, oh, school's gonna put your uniform on, you're like eating breakfast on the way, you're like 10 minutes late, like, and then but for this, like I get up at 6:30 and I want to come to work.
Yeah.
Like I want to come and I want to learn, and every single day, even when you qualified, even you could be like a band 8, a mate runner, that you're still learning stuff every single day. Like it's not the same each day.
And for me, it was because I felt like you learn more on the job. You learn more on the job in a day than you do in like a month at university. That's always been my sort of way of looking at things. Because when I was at school, like I never really enjoyed doing the like academic part of it. Like I did pass all my GCSEs, but I didn't enjoy it. But I knew I didn't want to do that for another 2 years, just to like be even more scared to do it. I feel like go straight into it, into the work setting, and just get through it. And now I'm perfectly fine with it, and I feel so much more confident about going further because I want to do my nursing as well.
That's really, really insightful. And before I go back to Jo, Willow said that she knew after her trip overseas that she wanted to work in healthcare. Okay, so Olivia, what was your moment? Why have you decided to work in healthcare, especially in the elderly?
Oh, I just honestly, I love old people. I just love them. Like it melts my heart when I see them. Like even if I was in a cafe and I seen them eating by themselves, it would just make us cry, and I would want to go sit over with them and that. So I just think like they're so lovely. They deserve to be like cared for. Someone who wants to have conversations with them while they're in hospital, because obviously it's an unknown setting to them. They feel, especially patients with dementia and stuff, like they're not aware of what's happening, so they just need someone to like talk to them, make them feel more comfortable. And I feel like I can do that because of how encouraging I can be, because of how I like them so much.
Oh, that's wonderful, and I know you'll be so appreciated by your patients and their families. So if we can go back to Jo, if Jo's there. Hiya, Jo.
Hello.
Hi. The experiences that Olivia and Willow have been talking about being hands-on straight away, part of the team, building their confidence, is that the kind of feedback that your apprentices give you?
Definitely, sort of learning on the job, learning skills on the job, and earning while they're learning as well. I think our perspectives differ because our courses are from a university level. So I think Olivia and Willow, like they mentioned, they come in as they're doing an apprenticeship as a healthcare assistant, which is great. And some trusts in our area, for example, I'm based in Essex, and some of our trusts are starting to offer that as well. So yeah, from their perspective, absolutely. I think it's just from my perspective that we're coming in at the level 5 level as opposed to the level 2. So but the principle is exactly the same, like the girls were saying. It's very hands-on experience. They get to learn. I mean, obviously at the moment, or in the last sort of year or so, it's been a massive learning curve for anyone that works in healthcare with COVID. They're all doing an amazing job, but the apprentices, I think, have probably been thrown in at the deep end, really. But now is the time to sort of get that experience. And I think that the NHS especially, they need nurses more than ever. So this is a great time for people to get into to get into an apprenticeship at any level really within healthcare. Is absolutely brilliant. I think you'll find there's different people from across the country here, so apprenticeships span across the whole of England. So you know, the advice that I've given you today, I've tried to make it as generic as possible from an ARU perspective. But I just think definitely, like Olivia and Willow were saying, look at the websites. And I think it was Willow mentioned the gov.co.uk website. Just Google it, go on there, and it will bring up everything sort of nationally that's available that you can apply for. So, and they also mentioned in their interviews as well, you know, talking about caring, 100%. That's what the NHS are looking for. The NHS have something called the 6 Cs. So I definitely would encourage you to Google that. It's things like care, compassion, communication, you know, and things that if you want to go into that industry, I'm sure you'd probably already know anyway, but it's just good for your interview technique to sort of brush up on that kind of thing.
That's really useful, thank you. So the 6 Cs?
Yes.
Have a look at and spend some time thinking about what your answers would be around and what's important to you about those 6 Cs. That's really useful, thank you. And we've got a few minutes left, so I would just like to remind everyone to please answer the poll about your opinion on your future career options, please. And finally, I'll ask Jo, then I'll come back to Olivia and Willow. You mentioned obviously the pandemic and how much pressure's been on the NHS and healthcare workers. Do you think there are going to be lots of jobs in healthcare in the future?
I think that there were anyway, if I'm being truthful, but I think definitely more so now, you know, looking to build workforces even further. And the thing is with the NHS that is always sort of there is the retirement aspect. So you've got lots of nurses that are really you're going to learn from and what have you when you start to work there, but they are all going to get to a point where they're retiring. So they have to build a continuous pipeline and they have what they call a strategic workforce plan. And in that plan is apprenticeships and then building. So yeah, absolutely. I think if you've got a job in healthcare, really and truly, you've got a career, you know, they're always going to need people on the front line, and I think COVID just proves that, really.
Oh, that's fabulous, thank you. And Willow and Olivia, if you're there, what advice would you give to your younger selves? When I know, Willow, you mentioned about the anxiety around passing exams, but let's go back to when you were, say, 13, 14. What advice would you give your younger selves?
Don't think that your GCSEs are the biggest problem that you're going to face, because obviously you get through your GCSEs and it is to progress for things like A levels, university and things like that. But the apprenticeship, that gives you a chance to get more sort of qualifications to be able to progress, so to still go to university afterwards. So when you go to university, you've still got experience as well as the academic knowledge as well.
Yeah, I would second the thing about GCSEs. Obviously, I mentioned it before, but it's the same with A levels, the same with universities. Nothing is final. It's not the end of the world. In your head, I know it is the end of the world. You feel this, you do that, but you'll step into the real world. I hate to say school is not the real world, and you'll realize oh my goodness, I can do it this way, I can do it this way. I distinctly remember after my mock exams coming home and I was like, Mum, I've ruined my life, I've failed this one, and she went, right, you can do GCSEs, A levels, university job, or you can do GCSEs, college, university job, or you can do GCSEs, job, this, that. There's loads of pathways, and just I think although the high schools do want the best for you, they are pushing for A levels, they are pushing for university, because to be a teacher, that is all they've done. But there is so many different routes, no matter what age you are, no matter what point you are in your life, no matter, even if healthcare isn't for you, there's loads of different routes.
Oh, your mum sounds great. That sounds like really good advice she gave you when you came home upset. That is great. Well, thank you everyone for the insightful and engaging discussions. And I'm sure I speak for everyone here when I say we've learned such a lot from you all. Thank you.